Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to a recap of episode 8 of Survivor Season 43. All right, before we talk about this week's episode, let's talk about what happened last week at the end. If you will recall, we lost Dwight last week. It was a bit of a split tribe. I think we had 7 people voting to send him out the door off the island, 5 people voting, trying to split votes between Ryan and James. Dwight went home. We've got a little bit of division. How's that division going to affect this huge tribe right now? Still 11 people. How's it going to affect them going forward? We'll find out. We are down to 11 tribe mates. And remember, beyond just this large group as the merge came in, recall it last week as well, James had found the knowledge is power advantage, which almost cost him his spot on the island because he came real close to getting booted just because of that. But knowledge of his power means that during tribal, he can steal someone's advantage, someone's idol. So because of that, remember that last week, there are all kinds of people exchanging idols, passing idols and advantages to other people, just in case he asked a question about, do you own an idol or do you have an advantage? So there were a lot of people giving their idols and advantages to other ones last week. Now the big question, are they going to get them back? We'll find out. There's a little bit of conversation that takes place this evening with that. So let's talk about tonight's episode. Night number 14. As much as we've seen going on, these castaways have been on this island for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It seems like such a short period of time for so much to happen. They squeeze a lot into every day they're on that island. So night number 14, we see as everyone's getting back from tribal council, Cody is explaining to us a little bit about how the vote had worked last week of voting Dwight out. He and Jesse had talked, and we'd seen some discussions between the two of them about maybe, was it time to make a big move? Was it time to just kind of go with the status quo and not make waves? Well, they decided to go with the big move, which in this case was going after Dwight. They were able to get Team Coco, the blue team, on board. Well, I'm sure Team Coco was all ready to go because few episodes back, we had Team Vessi and Team Baca working together against Coco, and there was a lot of talk, and it sure seemed at some points last week that they were going to have those two ganging up against the Blue Tribe, the former Blue Tribe. So certainly, Coco Tribe was on board with Cody and Jesse's plans, and they mentioned the fact that they also were a little bit surprised that Sammy, who was part of the Baca Strong, not so strong after Ellie went home, but Baca Strong, part of the Baca tribe, that Sammy had joined in with them as well. So they had a decent group to vote out Dwight, and it worked as they expected. So we see Cody explaining all that to the cameras. We then see Sammy. Talk about Sammy, a little bit of a surprise that he joined on board. We see Sammy kind of smoothing things out, trying to smooth things out with Owen a little bit, but primarily Janine. He's saying, look, Janine, I found out right before tribal itself that Cody and Jesse were flipping, that they were going after Dwight. With those two voting, it didn't matter what we did. The numbers were there, and so I just had to do what I had to do. And so he's I'm not sure that's the best, most calming information I would want to have. If I'm Janine, I'm saying, why didn't you tell me beforehand? But it didn't happen. So he's trying to smooth things over with her. Now, remember I talked about that some people exchanged some idols and advantages or gave them to one another. Well, Janine is telling the cameras that it was kind of a double whammy at tribal council. She lost Dwight, who she considered to be one of her tightest allies. She lost Dwight, and she also apparently lost her immunity idol. Remember, she had one of the idols that she'd made with the beads from the other people in our tribe. Out of fear that James would try to take that from her using his advantage, she had given that immunity idol to Dwight, of all people, to hold on to. And now Dwight's out the door. So she has lost not only her ally, she's also lost her immunity idol. And she recognizes that she's on the bottom of the pecking order because she wasn't involved in this decision. So Janine is feeling very disappointed. And again, Sammy's trying to smooth it over by saying, hey, it was just a last minute deal. I found out what was going on. He's also telling her, saying, look, no one was going to want to work with you, Janine, as long as you had that idol. They just you were too powerful. As long as you had that, no one's going to work with you. Now that it's gone, everyone will work with you. I don't know. I'm not going to be convinced by anyone who's telling me that losing an idol is a good thing. It just doesn't seem to fly. But Sammy's doing what he can to talk about that, and he does mention that her idol is gone. And then we start seeing a lot of people on this island talking. The way playing a little telephone, it seems like everyone quickly is becoming aware that Janine had given her idol to Dwight, and it apparently walked out the door. Walked off the island with Dwight. So there are a lot of people kind of laughing about it, saying, oh, man, that's horrible, isn't it? Giggle, giggle. Has it left? Has it walked out the door? Well, maybe not so much, because then we see a little camera confessional, if there ever was one, and it's Jesse. It turns out Jesse is telling us that, yes, Janine gave the idol to Dwight, but then Dwight, afraid that someone may call him out, gave the idol to Jesse. So Jesse pulls out, originally Janine's idol, pulls out the idol that he has now inherited, now that Dwight is gone, and no one knows. That with the knowledge of power being in play, surely he's going to keep that quiet. I don't trust anyone with the knowledge that you have that idol. I think Jesse's smart enough. I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So he mentions that. Now, funny thing, Jesse doesn't have just one idol. He's got another idol as well, because for the same reason, out of fear of this knowledge is power, Cody had also given Jesse his beaded immunity idol to hold on to. So yeah, Jesse's got a beaded immunity idol here, a beaded immunity idol here. And he tells the camera, he says, Cody, I assume he's going to want it back, but he hadn't asked for it back yet, right? Surely he's going to mention it at some point, right? I don't know. It could be he's waiting for either James to go home or for the power advantage to be played before he asks for it back. I think if I'm Cody, I'm asking for it back. The second Tribal's over, I'm holding on to it until just a split second before Tribal starts up the next episode. I'm keeping my idol as long as I possibly can. What is that? Possession's 9/10 of the law. If Jesse holds on to that thing for too long, it may make it that much tougher to get back. So I see him potentially or probably eventually giving back that idol to Cody. But he's got another one that no one else knows about except for Dwight, and Dwight's not part of the equation anymore. That's going to be fun to see how that plays out a little bit later. Now, we do have Owen having a little bit of a talk to the camera as well, talking about growing up, feeling like he was adopted, maybe not always feeling like he was necessarily part of the crowd and everything, feeling a little left out. And he's saying that he kind of feels the same way on the island itself right now. For the past two tribal councils, he's been out of the loop. He wasn't involved in the decision making. He didn't know what was going to happen, which is kind of interesting because really I thought Owen was playing a fantastic game the first few weeks. It just didn't work out for the last couple. So he's feeling a little lost. In fact, he's kind of lamenting to Cassidy and Janine that really it seems like the three of them and maybe Gabler to some degree, but certainly the three of them are on the bottom of this big tribe at this point in time and really at risk for going home. And I think that's a valid assumption at this point. But they're also figuring the three of them, if they could also grab Gabler, that makes four. And maybe a couple others that maybe the people on the bottom could flip this thing over and maybe take some control. So they are still hoping and looking for opportunities. They haven't given up. They aren't laying down. They're just realizing they're at the bottom of the pecking order and they've got to grab a couple of people and flip everything if they're going to keep their hopes alive, so to speak. So they're on the bottom. Who's on the top? Well, we have a little conversation going on. Jesse's talking about that. He's saying, look, the 7 people who voted to send Dwight out last night, I'm going to call them the Power 7. The Power 7 is described by Jesse are Jesse, James, Cassidy, Carla, Cody, Sammy, and Ryan. The 7 that voted out Dwight the evening before. And now they're talking, not all of them, but most of them are together talking about maybe making this a final 7, saying, hey, if we stick together, we can make it to 7. Then we all battle it out at that point. But at least then we're all guaranteed to make it to the final 7. Everyone seems to like that idea, thinking it's pretty good. Cassidy, right after hearing that, uh, Cassidy is saying, look, let's do this and make it final seven. And maybe we need to go after someone who's a challenge threat at this point in time, kind of a beast mode type person, and get a real challenge threat out the door. But James is coming back and saying, I get what you're saying, Cassidy, but I'm kind of thinking Owen needs to go because Owen is very sneaky. He's a bit of a floater. He'll go wherever he needs to go. He'll say whatever he needs to say. That worries me. I think we need to go after Owen. So the Power Seven is certainly starting to discuss some targets at this time. All right, little breakaway, a little foreshadowing, as is often the case on Survivor. We see all these castaways talking about food. All the food. Carla has this long dream about eating a chicken, a bunch of chicken with Jeff Probst around. These guys are all hungry. They're all ready for some food. Remember, they didn't have any rice or anything. They're depending on coconuts and whatever fish Ryan can bring in. Ryan's been catching a lot of fish. We'll talk about that as well. But these guys are certainly hungry, except for Gabler. Gabler, who tells us that, eating's just a luxury. Yeah, for a week or so. After that, it seems like it's a little bit more than a luxury. But Gabler's saying, yeah, I want to eat as much as the next person, but it's a luxury. I can survive if I have to not eating. We'll see. Day 14 is a long time to go, so we'll find out. But there is a lot of talk about food. And right after that, as much as Gabler says it's a luxury, he certainly seems like he's out there with Ryan fishing, spear fishing, trying to bring in some fish so they've got something to eat. But Gabler's got some ulterior motives. It isn't all about food. It's probably not much at all, according to what I said just before that. Gabler is recognizing, he's telling us he knows he's on the losing side at Tribal, so he's figuring he better be getting in on the better side, the winning side, this Power 7. So he's going to start with Ryan. He's going to try to really get a little bit tighter with Ryan, make sure that he's not too isolated from the people in control right now, and do what he can to make sure that his name does not go on paper on the next Tribal Council. We do have Ryan talking to Gabler as they talk after fishing a little bit. And Ryan is telling Gabler that he really hopes that his hard work is going to protect him. Remember I said they weren't getting any food? And Ryan's been out there fishing all the time. He's been building shelters. They've talked in past episodes that he can't just sit down and sit still. He's always doing something, and a lot of that is providing food. So Ryan is saying he really hopes that pays off for him going forward, that people will protect him because of that. Well, I mean, short term, sometimes the providers, whether you're providing competition wins, whether you're providing labor around camp, whether you're providing fish, yeah, short term that works sometimes. Long term, maybe not so much, Ryan, but he's hoping that protects him a little bit. He's also thinking that this group of 7 he belongs to is going to protect him as well. So he's feeling pretty comfortable. But Gabler kind of knocks him down a little bit by saying, well, look, you're big and strong, and you made quite the impression on everyone. He's certainly implying that maybe Ryan has been recognized as certainly a competition threat, someone who could be a target. Remember Cassidy saying she wanted to go after a big comp threat. Well, Ryan certainly fits the bill. So Gabler's kind of saying, yeah, you protect us with food and all of that, but that may not be quite enough. He didn't say that, but that's certainly the implication. So we've got that. Now, we also have Sammy right after this point talking to Janine and Owen. Because remember, Ryan just got through saying he really trusts his final 7 to protect him. And right after that, we see Sammy talking to Janine and Owen, fellow Baka tribe mates. Remember, this Baka Strong was a slogan at some point in time, and maybe there's still something to it, because Sammy is talking to the two of them and saying, look, I'm not here just playing for the final 7. That's not what I came to do. He said they're targeting you, Janine. I think he says at that point, or maybe just a little bit later. But anyway, he says they think y'all are on the bottom. Y'all are easy pickings. He said they want us to go to final 7, me and the rest of them. He says, I know I'm at the very bottom of that group of 7. So why would I just stick with that? Not a chance in the world I'm going to do that. We need to work together if at all possible. And Sammy is pointing out that he and Owen and Janine and Gabler, along with Noelle, that they think they can get on board as well. that makes 5 people. And they're recognizing that really they only need one more person to have 6 votes, and 6 votes is going to send someone out the off the island this week. So they're recognizing that, yeah, the Power 7 thinks they've got all the power and all that, but Sammy's willing to bend in the Power 7, which takes them down to only 6 on that side. If they can just get one more, Power 7 is no more and not as strong as they think they are. So I get a little bit of hope. With all that going on, it's time for the immunity challenge. No reward challenge at all. There was a reward involved, but primarily it's an immunity challenge. And this is a fun one. One of my favorites to watch because it's all just about focus and discipline and a little bit of endurance. Balancing a ball on a pole. In this particular situation, we've got balls that are, I don't know, about the size of a volleyball, perhaps. And each tribe mate has to rest the ball on top of a circular platform about the size of a dinner plate with a pole underneath it. Hold that pole so that the ball doesn't roll off. Easy peasy, right? Yeah, to start with, except every 5 minutes, they have to add another, 2 or 3 foot section of pipe of pole underneath and lift that little circular dinner plate and ball up just a little bit higher. Keep doing that until there's only one person left. Whoever's left wins immunity, is safe from tribal, and safe for another couple of days. So yeah, straightforward. Just a very basic competition, right? Well, it's never that easy because Jeff Probst has a little temptation to throw out to some people, as we've seen for the past few seasons. He's doing it again. He tells them, says, look, here's a big old bag of rice. It's good for at least 4 days for all of y'all. And if you ration just a little bit, you can probably get a lot more out of it. It's a lot of rice. But he says, I got 4 days worth of rice. Y'all can have it on one condition. He said, there's 11 of y'all here. I need 5 of y'all to sit out from this competition. No chance at safety. If you're comfortable enough to sit out, or you're hungry enough to sit out, I suppose, then have a seat. But I need 5 people to sit out. And that's the way it is. Now, we've seen in seasons past where people were able to negotiate with Jeff a little bit. James tries to do it this week. He says, hey, Jeff, would you be willing to consider 4 people instead of 5? Jeff's not having anything to do with that. He says, no, it's going to be 5 people. And if you wait till after today, it's going to get even more expensive for you. And so it's 5 people or nothing at all. It takes a second for people to start talking. But then I was actually pretty impressed that it didn't seem to take nearly as long as I expected. We ended up getting 5 kind of volunteers. I mean, I feel like maybe 1 or 2 kind of felt pressured into it, but we have 5 people who feel safe enough that they are volunteering to sit out this particular competition. And it is Sammy, James, Carla, Jesse, and the 4 of them volunteer. And then finally, Cassidy volunteers as well. So we've got our 5 volunteers that are going to sit out. Now, interesting thing about the 5 people that volunteered. Turns out they're all part of this Power 7. They're all part of the group that voted out Dwight, that feels like they're in control this week. Just an easy vote out. Get one of the people that's not one of our 7, probably Janine or someone. We'll vote them out. We're good to go. No worries. Let's just go get the rice. So, yeah, I always wonder when you're playing the game, you got to be looking at who else is either absolutely refusing to sit out because they feel like they're in danger, or that is more than happy to sit out to get a little food. That right there should tell each and every one of these castmates who feels safe, who doesn't, who feels like they're in power, who feels like they don't. And from that, you should be able to figure out a little bit more who or is maybe more susceptible to getting them over to your side. If they're part of the power group, but they still want to play, maybe those are the ones you need to reach out to. So there's got to be so much observation taking place when you have one of these type situations occur. But anyway, we've got our 5 people who volunteered, so they are going to be getting a little rice going forward. And with that, let's get on to some ball balancing on the Survivor Island. Not too soon after starting, or hadn't been that long at all after starting, we see Janine go out and Noel goes out almost immediately after. A little bit later, Gabler went out, and the Gabler did so well last week in holding on to a handle and all that. I was expecting to see him up there and start dedicating every minute to someone yet again. He didn't get the chance. Gabler is out as well. At this point, I was getting ready to call foul because I saw James holding the poles as everyone's doing. You can use two hands, but he's resting the pole on his forehead. And I really was thinking that doesn't seem fair to make any contact with the pole above the pole that you're supposed to be holding on to. To have any other contact seems like he ought to get called out for that, but he didn't. And as it turns out, it didn't matter because James's ball falls off as well. In fact, Jeff Probst even points out, says, he's trying to balance on his forehead, but I guess that gave a little too much lean to the ramp or the pole and all that. I still think you should be allowed to do it, but it doesn't matter because James is gone, which means it comes down to Cody and Owen to see who has the immunity for this week. Now, remember last week, it came down to Cody and Gabler, and Cody couldn't do it. This time, he's in the final two on a competition yet again. So Cody and Owen doing everything they can. Eventually, though, Cody drops his ball. Yeah, second week in a row, he comes in second place, which is dangerous because you keep coming in second place. It makes you look like a threat, and you don't get any of the benefits of a first place finish either. But Cody has dropped his ball, which means that Owen has won immunity. I maybe wouldn't have called Owen out as who I would have picked to win this one, but Owen has won. Owen is safe for the week. Did he need it? Yeah, possibly. I don't know that Owen was the top target this week to go home, but he certainly is not part of the Power 7. His name was certainly being thrown out there. James threw his name out already. So, yeah, I think Owen needed this particular immunity win. So he's safe. It's going to have to be someone else this week at least. So with that being said, we now have Ryan suggesting to the Power 7 and Gabler's there as well, saying, look, I think Janine should be the target at this point in time. And everyone's agreeing. If you're part of the Power 7, even if you disagree, you're not going to bring it up in front of the group, right? Now, it's funny, Ryan, the way Ryan seems to play this game, he doesn't seem to have any issue making suggestions and comments and proposals of what should be done in front of rather large groups of people. And I don't know that that's always the best way to do it, as opposed to, say, Cody or Sammy, who tend to get buy-in from one or two people and then move on to one or two more people and do it in little small chunks over an extended period of time. Ryan's not like that. Ryan just throwing it all out there in front of everyone who happens to be there and saying, hey, I think Janine needs to go right now. So again, everyone seems to be pretty much in agreement with that. And once that's been decided, Ryan is now ready to go fishing for another 2 or 3 hours to bring home the fish for everyone else, but also not be involved in the conversations, which I think is a very dangerous way to play the game of Survivor. So Ryan's off by himself doing the fishing. And at that point, things immediately start blowing up. We've got Sammy ready to blow the Power 7 up. He'd already told that to Owen and Janine that he wasn't going to stick with this Power 7, and he's sticking by that comment. He's ready to blow it up. He's telling Janine and Owen that Ryan is targeting Janine. I think I jumped the gun when I said that a little bit. At this point, he's saying, Ryan is targeting you, Janine. And he's saying, really, we need to go after Ryan instead. Yeah, I don't want you to go home, Janine, and we need to go after Ryan instead. And he's saying, we just need to get a few more people to make this happen. And while he's saying that, James walks by, and I really thought that was going to lead to something. Man, it didn't seem like it did that much. I guess it was okay. But certainly Sammy is not on board to get out Janine and is going to try to protect Baca as much as he can, at least for this week. So with that being said, Sammy has talked to Janine and Owen. Now he's talking to Carla about flipping the vote, going after Ryan instead. Ryan's a member of Team Coco, the blue team. So is Carla. That would make me a little nervous to bring it up to her. Carla saying, Team Coco, it's no more anymore. I don't mind going after Ryan. He's kind of loud and all that. I'm fine going after him, Sammy. Is she? I'd always be worried since they were former tribe mates as part of blue team Coco. But she's saying she's good with it. And she's saying, look, I'm on board getting a strong guy out right now. So that's how she's getting around the former tribe mate and all that. She's saying, I think we need a strong guy out, and he certainly fits that definition. She's also mentioning then this plan to James, who walked by earlier, and maybe that's why it's not an issue, because pretty soon they reveal what they're talking about. Let's get Ryan out instead. James seems okay with it, at least talking to Carla. And now Sammy has Noelle and Jesse on board, and then Janine. picks it up and runs with it. She convinces Cassidy to go after Ryan. Is there anybody besides Ryan at this point in time who's actually supporting the idea to boot Janine? Because it seems like everyone else has very quickly flipped. But I never know when you watch these shows, have they truly flipped? Or are they just saying it because, just like joining an alliance in Big Brother, you never say no. If someone approaches you and said, oh, maybe we should go after this person instead, sometimes it's easier just to say yes and then figure out what the actual current is with everyone going on. But everyone's very quickly agreed. Seems like maybe Ryan's the only one on the boot Janine train at this point in time. Everyone else jumped off as soon as they got the opportunity. So we'll see how that works, how it happens. And sure enough, just a little bit later, we've got James pushing back. He's saying, look, Janine is the easy one. Janine probably should go right now. And then we can go after Ryan some other week. He's not going anywhere. Let's just get Janine out right now. And he's saying if the idea is that if we go after Ryan right now, we've already broken up this group of 7. We've already blown up the Power 7 right after we formed it. If we just wait, get out Janine, everyone in this group of 7 will still be watching out for each other. We still have the power of our numbers. And somewhere down the road, we get out Ryan. Valid point. Fair enough. So he's suggesting that maybe it still should be Janine as Ryan suggested. And Cody starts considering this as well, saying, yeah, there is something to be said for that. But Cassidy is pushing to get out a big, strong guy. Remember, she had already mentioned that she wanted to get out a big, strong comp threat. So she's still pushing to maybe get Ryan out the door, if at all possible. We've got Gabler talking to Sammy. Not as much Gabler conversation this week. He had said last week after he got Ellie out that he was just going to kind of lay low and let other people lead the group for a little while. He's done that. He's kind of doing just what he said. But he is telling Sammy, saying, look, I didn't know what was happening in the last tribal. I'm a ship without a port. I'm just looking for someone to land with. He said, I just want to vote with the majority, Sammy. Just tell me how to vote. I'll vote with you. I just want to make sure I'm on the right side of this one. So Gabler's very much saying, whatever y'all want to do, I'm on board with me. So at this point, it's on to tribal. Is it going to be Ryan or is it going to be Janine? It certainly seems like those are the two primary options that are being discussed. As several people have said, do you go the easy way and get out Janine? Or is it time to make the big move and go after someone like Ryan and get out that big comp threat that Cassidy's wanting to go with? I don't know. I never can figure out for certain with some of the edits we see on Survivor which way this is going to go. But we are at Tribal. There's a lot of talk about how the game is being played. Jeff mentions every season there's a little bit different. I think he used the word social contract taking place. Psychologists ought to have a blast studying every season of Survivor, but they're talking about that, and they talk about maybe that this season some of the social contract as far as how to play Survivor is maybe laying low, being a little bit subtle, not necessarily being right up in someone's face and trying to play the game too hard, too fast in front of too many people. Sammy mentions at one point, though, says, now, look, yeah, I agree with all of that. He says, but at the same time, the last 2 people who went home didn't know they were going home. He said, so obviously the game is being played, whether you know it or not. And maybe it is being played subtly. Maybe it is being played under the radar, but the game is certainly being played. Sammy's playing the game as hard as anyone else, but he's done a good job of not making it seem like it's always the Sammy show. I don't know how long that's going to last, though. We've got Janine acknowledging that she just isn't really comfortable right now in her position in this tribe after last tribal, that she recognizes she's easily could be a target, and that she's just not feeling comfortable with where she's at right now. And with that, I think there's a lot of talk about how the game is played this particular season. And with that, we get to the vote itself, and let's just go through the votes. First vote we've got is for Janine and Ryan. Well, yeah, we knew they were going to vote for each other, so no surprises yet. Another vote for Ryan. Okay. Now another vote for Janine, 2 and 2. Another vote for Janine, not looking good for Janine. And another vote for Janine. Yeah, Janine is gone. They chose to go the easy route instead of making the big move this week. And as a result, Janine is gone. She knew she was in a rough position. As much as Sammy tried to say she was better off not having the idol, we knew that wasn't the case. Now, it was horribly not the case. Janine, I'm sure, is just wishing she's gonna go find Dwight once she gets to Ponderosa after her torture snuff, and say, I can't believe you've got my idol. And he's gonna say, I don't have it. I gave it to Jesse. Janine's really gonna be shocked when she finds that out. But yeah, Janine is gone, and it's unfortunate. I think it probably gets back to I think it was James is the one who said, let's stick with the numbers for right now. Even Sammy, who may know he's at the bottom of the pecking order, may not want to stick with that group of 7 forever. At least for another week or two, he recognizes that there is some safety in numbers. And so as a result, they went. It's hard. If enough people suddenly decide that they don't want to make the big move, are you going to go out all by yourself, be the lone wolf to do something like that, and then have all the people pointing the fingers at you? Especially after you just got through with the tribal council talking about how important it is to play the game under the radar and subtly and without really just getting too much in people's face. With all that being said, was it foreshadowing of what was going to happen, or did those conversations actually lead to the vote that was taken, which was the easy route and sticking with your numbers and playing a little safer than the other way? I don't know. I think the decision had probably already been made, but Janine is gone at this point in time. Ryan is lucky. Ryan is incredibly lucky. It does not seem that people are respecting his strong gameplay. He's a strong competition threat. He is doing a lot of work around the tribe, but for whatever reason, and I think it maybe gets back to the point that by throwing out these suggestions in front of such large groups of people, the way he often does. Remember when they had the merger dinner, he talked to everyone there about trying to merge as a final group and being the final 6 or 7, how many there were. He did it there. He did it again this week, talking about this final 7 and everything. I just think by him presenting some of his proposals and ideas in front of such large groups, people maybe feel like they're getting forced into situations, because in those kind of groups, no one's going to want to be the one person that says, yeah, I don't like that, Ryan. Everyone just kind of feels like they have to go along with it, even if they don't completely agree. And so because of the way that Ryan maybe is trying to run the game, I feel like he's getting more blowback than other people, such as Sammy. Sammy is playing an incredibly hard, strong, fast, aggressive game, and yet it doesn't seem like he's getting as much blowback as Ryan. And again, I think it's because Sammy just operates with smaller groups and doesn't make it so much in your face as Ryan's doing sometimes. Maybe that's the difference between the two, but I do think Ryan was lucky. I do think Ryan is going to continue to be a target going forward. You can only catch fish for so long. And now that you got Rice, do you really need as much fish? What's the difference between 20 and 21 fish? May not matter so much. So Ryan better be careful. But another action-packed episode. We've lost Janine. We continue to lose a lot of women from this season of Survivor. And in fact, Cassidy even pointed that out at one point, saying, we need to get a guy out at this point in time. Didn't work out. We lost another woman. We lost Janine. She sure wishes she had that idol, doesn't she? But que sera. Guys, fun episode. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday. I'll be back again next week to give y'all a recap of episode 9. Until then, y'all have a great week. Cheers, my friends. Bye.